Good afternoon. Welcome to Delegating with Ease. I am Virginia Sharp March of VSM Coaching and Consulting. And delegation is one of those things that many of my clients ask about. Maybe they don't ask about it directly, but they always talk about how busy they are. They tend to take on too many tasks and not to delegate out the task to others so that they can be more efficient with their time. So today we're going to talk about how you can be successful by delegating with ease. Whether you're new to a position and need advice, or if you're here to refresh your skills, you've come to the perfect place. I started VSM Coaching and Consulting in May of 2022. It came out of my leadership as a public library director for 25 years. The favorite part of my job was helping others in their jobs, helping them to perform their best, helping them to discover that confidence, that strengths. And I'm taking that and going into direct one-to-one coaching with people along with team building. But thank you for coming today to learn how what I know can help you be successful. So let's consider this quote from British author Stephen Richards. Inaction creates nothing. Action creates success. So as we discuss delegation today, and you're taking notes, I challenge you to act. So when you hear something that you need to apply, put letter A next to in the notes. When you hear something that you need to change, place the letter C next to it. And when you hear something that you want to teach somebody, put a letter T next to it. And at the end of today, rank the top three and then take action and apply it accordingly. So if you're stuck in the mindset of, if I want something done, I have to do it myself, then you're likely adding a bunch of unnecessary stress to your plate. Have you ever said, I can do it better and quicker myself? I'm guilty of that too. So when you're in a leadership position, it can be challenging to slow down. It can be challenging to let go of your power and give the work that you've been entrusted to do to another person. If this sounds familiar to you, let's practice making it a priority to let go. Start small. Delegate a task that doesn't hold as much weight in terms of how the outcome will affect things. And consider these questions. What am I holding on to that is stealing time from my priorities? Am I letting others share in important tasks? Am I using my best energy to the things that I do best and only I can do? And what could I be delegating now? Let's take a moment to put this into context of a household chore, like teaching a child to wash dishes. I have two daughters, and as they grew up, their chore after dinner was to do the hand dishes. Now, they may have poked and prodded and discussed about whose turn was it to wash and whose turn was it to dry, which may have caused some chaos in the house. However, it was very important for them to learn that responsibility. And yes, sometimes there are items that weren't quite as clean as others, but they were learning how to be part of the household. What did it allow me to do? It gave me time to prep for the next day, to clean up other parts of the house. So even though at first it wasn't the best job, by giving them practice and allowing them to do that, it made them better at what they were doing. So not only was I helping them build their abilities and skills, but I was also allowing me, once again, that free space to use my time the best. Delegation allows you to focus on high level tasks, thus creating a more functional system for the business or household overall. Workplace success is intertwined among staff, and each staff member is most successful when they feel empowered. After all, when they succeed, you succeed. BalanceCareers.com writes, empowerment is the process of enabling or authorizing an individual to think, behave, take action, and control work and decision making about their job in autonomous, independent, self-directed ways. It is the state of feeling self-empowered to take control of your destiny. Consider the law of empowerment from the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. If leaders want to be successful, they have to be willing to empower others. When leaders set their teams up for success through training, providing resources, setting goals that help the organization and themselves, they are on the road to creating a high-performance culture. Well, it's your job as a supervisor, manager, or team leader to make the big picture decisions. Fostering employee empowerment through involvement will enable your team members to contribute their best effort. So when it comes to delegation, consider three aspects: responsibility, which is empowering with the role; authority, empowering with the right of the task; and accountability, empowering for results. If you're new to delegating, it's important to start slowly. When delegating, your goal should be to build up both your delegating abilities as well as your employees' abilities to take on the responsibilities. To do this, delegate a low priority task. This will allow both you and your employee to test the water of delegation. Too often, people make a habit of delegating to whoever has the lightest workload or whoever happens to be close by and convenient. Another habit of delegation is to go to that person that you know will always tell you yes. You know that they're going to agree to it. Whatever is requested will follow through. I've been guilty of that. But as instead of falling into these habits, consider who has the most significant number of relevant skills for the task. Another thing to keep in mind is each individual's range of skills, their potential to grow through that responsibility, along with their individual goals. Here's how John Maxwell recommends in his book, Developing the Leaders Around You. Consider when giving away responsibility for a task. Give the task away if someone can do it better than you. 100% they can do it better than you. Give the task away if someone can do the task 80% better than you. And give it away if someone has the potential to do at least 80% as good as you, because they're going to build those skills and they're going to get to that 100%. So before delegating tasks, it's crucial to trust that everyone on your team can take on the responsibility of the task at hand and can make their own decisions. Do you think your team is ready? Assign a project to your team with every task delegated. Ensure you have complete faith in their ability to complete the task. And when the project is due, answer these following questions. Is the project complete? Has everyone finished what they were assigned? Is the quality up to your standard, or does it look sloppy and finished at the last minute? If everything is completed to your satisfaction, congratulations. If not, do an after action step, an after action review. Examine where the project fell short and try again. To ensure success, it is best that you can provide or at least explain the task in its entirety to whoever you're delegating it to. Make sure that the person tasked with the work understands the overall purpose of the project, important aspects that might require extra time and effort, as well as any background information that can help clarify why the project was put in place. When they have buy-in and know the why, they're going to be more motivated and excited to take part of this. They're going to be able to work better together. If you're not already in the practice of providing your team with the big picture, try it out. Consider providing the authorities to the others in the task. Remove your hands from micromanaging. Define the authority that's being transferred and what decisions that are related to the responsibility that they can make. If you abdicate your responsibility, you abdicate your authority. So make sure it's clearly defined for both you and your staff. Shift authority in increments if you do not know them very well. So first, tell them. Tell them to look into it, report to you, and then you will decide. Tell them to look into it. Report alternatives with pros and cons, then provide a recommendation. Next step, Have them look into it, have them tell you what they intend to do, and don't do it unless you say yes. Next level. Look into it, let them know what they tend to do, and then do it unless you tell them no. Take action. Allow them to do what they need to do, but let them know what you do. So then take action and no further contact is required. That is the highest level of delegation. They know what needs to be done and they just have the authority to do it. Deadlines. Deadlines and follow through. Deadlines must be clearly defined in order to be met. If the project has multiple components, make sure the team knows exactly when each element of their project is due. If you're new to delegating or working with a new team or trying this for the first time, try making a schedule for your team to follow. Having a visual spreadsheet or checklist will provide your team with something to refer back to if necessary. I have known teams successfully utilize online resources such as Trello or Monday, SharePoint within Teams. Perhaps a more visual aspect would be a Kanban board. Weekly meetups to discuss project is another tool to stay on deadline. We've mentioned the big picture. So involving your team in the big picture will ensure that they feel as if they are part of the whole initiative. You can't just expect your team to know precisely what you want from them. In addition to providing critical aspects of the project, make a list of everything you can think of that will help your workers be successful with this project. Consider the vision of your organization and how this project fits into the vision. An understanding of the purpose of a project will motivate staff to stay engaged, creating a successful project. When leading its team, it's essential for you to be accessible. They can feel like they can approach you with any questions, concerns, or just chat and bounce ideas off of you. Some things to consider when you have an open door policy. If a team member comes in your office with an idea, don't shut it down right away. Listen, ask questions, really think about it. Allow others to build their own path by allowing them to have a voice in the process. Recognize strategies different from yours. They might be brilliant. Give them that opportunity. Practice walkabouts or management by walking. So not only is that open door ready for them to come in, but that open door is your signal to go out to where your staff is, where they're working, where they're in action. Set up regular one-to-one meetings. I recommend the book Radical Candor by Kim Scott. It discusses various types of meetings in order to stay connected with your staff. If you have certain expectations or a picture of the outcome that you're looking for, share it. Your expectations shouldn't be a secret. And your employees would rather that you share exactly what you're looking for rather than making them guess and having them do all that work and then finding out they weren't on the right path. We want to set everyone up for success. Allow them, though, still to determine their own path, even if it's not the path that you've chosen. That path may have bumps in the road. However, that's where the best learning occurs. This means that there's a culture of safety, vulnerability, and trust within the organization. Many leaders have success allowing others free rein over delegated tasks. However, this doesn't mean merely assuming work is being accomplished. Set up project check-ins, as we mentioned before, so that you're in the loop of the progress. You want to keep you and your workers on a cohesive timeline. Remember those solid dates that you established? For long-term projects, set specific checkpoints to ensure milestones are being met along the way. This is where accountability comes in. Empower them with and for the results. And to delegate those results and how to report them, you want to define what needs to be reported, how to report, when to report, who is to report it to, and why is it being reported. If you have all those elements in place, there's not going to be any surprises along the way. But remember, you are still in charge. If you see something isn't right, whether it's unfinished work or errors, step in. If it looks like a project might not finish on time or a team member has lost focus, step in, offer a hand, ask questions, find out what's up. How can you help them be a success? Ultimately, you are in charge. Something goes wrong and you're able to finish on time. Don't blame your team. Put together a constructive plan to resolve the roadblocks that got in your way and move forward. Don't dwell in those negatives. Think back to past projects when you were the person being delegated to. Think about how you felt during that project. Did you complete the project successfully? What did you like about how you were delegated to? And what would you have changed? When I was in libraries, a yearly process was setting up the budgets, and there was multiple people involved. My fiscal officer or my administrative assistant who had access to all the financial reports, my department heads who are working on planning for the next year, my vendors to find out was the contracts going to be the same or was there going to be increases in the cost of services? Now, I could have went and tried to collect all the information and data that I needed in order to create a successful budget. However, I knew who had the data, who had the information I needed. So we would start with a meeting at the beginning of this planning and delegate out to what everybody needed to do. And then I'd follow up throughout the process. And because of that, we would have a successful budget for my libraries. So when delegating that project or task, it's important to identify those measurements, as I mentioned earlier, or the outcome you'll use to determine that the project was successfully completed. Take a moment to consider a past project that wasn't as successful as it could have been. Start from the beginning and determine what would have been appropriate measurable outcomes. Failed projects typically don't have clear goals and deadlines. I can think of one. I allowed 2 staff members to apply for a grant for new technology. I read over the grant, but I did not ask enough questions to determine the success of the grant and the ability of the staff to follow through with the grant. The grant was awarded, and as they were working through the process, I realized that they weren't communicating. They didn't have the time to fully follow through with the grant. So they had to intervene. Together, we found ways to pull in other staff to help and other ways to make this a success. Had I, at the beginning, asked more questions, inquired more, and figured out what the end goal was, it would not have been much of a problem as it was. You may want to foster a means of expressing gratitude to your staff when a project is successfully completed. Think about it. Celebrations are great. Positive recognition reinforces the employee's positive self-image, a sense of accomplishment, and belief that they are a key contributor. What can you do to reward others for a job well done? Perhaps public acknowledgement, staff meetings, department-wide emails to celebrate the successes, personal thank you notes. Handwritten notes really mean a lot to people, and we don't do it as often as we should these days. Take the person to lunch or coffee. If your company allows it, give them some flexibility, perhaps some extra time off. But don't overlook the small wins as you go along. So as you reach certain milestones, take time to celebrate before you move on to the next step. A big key to delegating effectively is being in touch with your team. Knowing who is best suited for certain tasks will go a long way in delegating appropriate work. I was at one of my libraries. We were going to recarpet, which was going to require taking all the material off the shelves, boxing them up, putting them in another space, taking the shelves down, moving them, allowing the carpet to be laid, and then do everything in reverse. Put the shelves back, put the material back. It was going to be a process that needed to be well orchestrated. I had a staff member who had been in logistics in the Marine Corps, and I knew that she would be successful in this. I delegated that task to her. We had plans, we had outlines, and it was a success. You might have one employee who excels in the big picture brainstorming ideas, and another who does better with detail oriented tasks. Knowing what each person can bring to the table is crucial, deciding where and when to best delegate tasks. A tool to discover your team's strengths and weaknesses is the DISC personality assessment. Using the framework of DISC, we can identify who has strengths and weaknesses and how we can best utilize that in our work and relationships. Maybe you know someone who's very direct. They drive projects forward. They're bold and decisive and comfortable being in control. They might be D-wired. You have someone who has lots of ideas, very encouraging, very motivating. They're they're the influencers on your team. How about someone who's loyal, dedicated? They don't necessarily want to be the center of attention, but they are your workhorses. They will follow projects from beginning to end. They're probably your S wired, the steady group part of your group. Others who are very neat, organized, structured, they're going to ask why. They're going to be very detailed and they are focused. Just like our S's, they're going to help you get those jobs done. Those are our C wired people. They're very detailed. Having a DISC personality assessment for your team leads to self-discovery and improved communication. And it allows us to place teammates together that are going to help our projects be successful. Embrace that individuality. A single task can be effectively completed in a dozen different ways. And your way may not be the right way for everybody. So embrace the creativity, ask for feedback about the instructions you provided. If circumstances allow, encourage your associates to try new ways of completing the task. You never know. They could come up with a method much better and faster, which never would have occurred to you. Let's consider the tips for success. Let's recap what we've talked about today. So take a note of the following tasks to set up your team for ultimate success. Decide what to delegate. Pick the right people for the task. Knowing their personalities helps put the right people, the right combination together. Communicate clearly. Allow your team to ask questions. Provide feedback as you go along. Check in, but don't be overbearing. Make sure you have deadlines set. Use tools to help you follow through with those deadlines. Celebrate, share in rewards, and give credit wherever credit is due. Remember, when delegating responsibility, you are empowering others with that role. And when you delegate authority, you're empowering them with the right to the task. And when you're empowering them with accountability, you're empowering them for results. Remember those questions. What am I dumping without development? Am I just putting it onto someone because it's convenient or they said yes? Make sure whoever you're allowing to take on this task has an opportunity to grow and develop in that. What am I holding on to that might be stealing my time from my priorities? Yes, it might be nice and easy to do reports after reports, but you have someone else that can do that more efficiently and have the time, which would then free up your time for other more important tasks. Am I letting others share in important tasks? Some might have the skills that are needed to do something. Give them the opportunity. Allow them to be successful just as much as you are. Am I using my best energy to do the things that I do best and only I can do? Once again, set your priorities. And think about it. Look at your to-do list. I'm sure we all have some type of a to-do list. What should I be delegating now? It's okay to ask others for help. That gives them the opportunity to serve you just as much as you serve them. It's been a lot of information, yes? This is just the beginning of your journey to delegating with confidence, which will create a high performance culture where you're at. As I reflected upon what I wanted each of you to leave with, I considered the law of empowerment from the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. If leaders want to be successful, they have to be willing to empower others. When leaders set their team up for success by training them, providing them resources, setting goals that help the organization and themselves, they are on the road to creating a high performance culture. Delegation is essential to empowering everybody's. It's essential to empowering others. So when employees feel empowered, they'll be more engaged and motivated at work. And that's what we want. We want a motivated and engaged workforce. We want them to be excited to come to work. We want to make it a place where they can succeed in all that they do. Think about it. What tips can you add that have contributed to your success? And what questions or experiences do you want to share? Please share them with me on my social media through LinkedIn or email me. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to join me. Delegating is a skill just like any other. It's essential to know your own strengths and weaknesses as a leader to be a successful delegator. If you're new to delegating, don't be discouraged when projects don't work out. Instead, use that opportunity to improve your skills. I absolutely love getting to chat with you, and I hope that you've learned something valuable. If you have any further questions, please email me, connect with me on LinkedIn. Here are the resources from today's session, and I'll be sharing those with everyone who attended. So thank you. Thank you for taking the time, for making your personal growth a priority. Here's my contact information, a link for feedback, and a link for a complimentary DISC assessment and strategy call. Whatever I can do to help you and your team with success, reach out. That's what I love to see is people living their best life, living in the confidence and the strengths that they have, and helping others do the same.